No framework on the level of AngularJS would be complete without some sort of construct to loop over our data and output the result of that looping to the web page. AngularJS certainly has that construct, and it's called ng-repeat. And that's what we're going to learn about in this lecture. Now, we've seen directives before. For example, ng-app is a directive. Well, ng-control is a directive. ng-repeat is yet again a directive that we're going to learn about, a directive that comes packaged together with AngularJS out of the box. Right now, I'm in my editor, and I'm in Lecture 17 inside a Full Stack Course 5 Examples folder. So let's go over this little shopping list app. We have the ng-app, naming the app being shopping list app. And we have the shopping list controller where all the magic is going to happen. Let's switch to app.js for a second and take a look as to what we have here. What we have here is two arrays. The first one is called shopping list 1, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items in the shopping list, and they're all just strings. And we also have shopping list 2, which has also elements in it, but the elements of shopping list 2 are actually objects. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. Each object has a name and a quantity property. When we declare our module and actually declare our shopping list controller, all we're doing here is obviously injecting scope as usual, but all we're doing here is placing those arrays as a property on the scope service. So now we have a shopping list 1 property and we have a shopping list 2 property that is now able to be referenced inside of our HTML template. So let's go back to index.html, and we see here the first shopping list, or the first version of a shopping list here, is that we have an unordered list, and the li tag has an attribute called ng-repeat. And ng-repeat is very similar to a for each type of for loop. So the construct of item in shopping list 1 means that we're going to be looping over a shopping list 1 array, or collection, or an array, and each time through the iteration, the item of that collection that is being iterated over is going to be equal to the item variable that we're setting up. And in this case right now, we're just interpolating that item as the value of the body of the li tag. So each time as it's iterating, it's going to output another item that is equal to one of the items in the shopping list 1 array. The rest of the code so far is just commented out, and we'll get to it in a second. So let's go ahead to our browser and take a look here. And you see here that we have our shopping list and all of our 8 items output to the browser. Let's go ahead and right-click on this milk item and inspect it and see what the code in HTML is actually looking like. As you can see here, what we have here is that this ng-repeat actually repeated the li tag 8 times over and over here, each time interpolating the item in the array as the contents of that particular li item. So in this case, it's milk, in this case, it's donuts, cookies, and so on and so forth. So let's close that up and go back to our code editor and uncomment a different shopping list. We'll just go ahead and comment this out for now and open the comments up for this one. In this case, we're also looping through the array, except in this case, we're looping through shopping list 2 array. But shopping list 2, as you can remember, let's go back to our app.js. You see shopping list 2 is a list of objects, not just a list of strings. So in this case, each item in the loop of shopping list 2 is going to represent the object, not just a particular string. So in this case, when we interpolate it and we say something like by item.quantity of item.name, we're able to traverse the JavaScript object in its usual way using the dot notation, and obviously interpolate it with double curly braces. So if we save that and go back to our browser, you'll see that now we're outputting buy 2 of milks, that's really not English, but it's close enough, buy 200 of donuts, and donuts spelled twice with an S. Again, kind of a little bit messed up here, but it doesn't really matter, you get the idea. And buy 300 of cookies, and obviously we're going to have a cookie party right there. Let's go back to the code editor and now comment this out and uncomment another way of traversing the shopping list. In this case, what we're doing here is we're doing exactly the same thing, except this time around, I'd like to be able to number them one by one. Even though we're inside of an unordered list, I want to be able to get at the index of the iteration as we go along. So item in shopping list 2, the ngRepeat is set up exactly the same, except ngRepeat directive allows us to access the looping index variable by exposing it to the body of the tag that ngRepeat is an attribute of by the $index. So if we say $index and we try to interpolate that inside of the body of the tag that ngRepeat is on, it will give us the index or the iteration number through the loop of this collection shopping list 2. So we're able to say index $index plus 1 because obviously arrays are 0 based and we don't want to start counting to the user from 0. So we're going to do a plus 1. So the very first item will be 1, 2, and so on. And then we'll say the same thing by item quantity of item name. Let's save that and go to the browser, and you see now every bullet now has 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these numbers came from $index that is exposed by the ngRepeat directive. Now obviously, if we go look at our HTML, you'll see that we're setting up watchers for different items inside of our array that we're looping over, because double curly braces, as we learned before, sets up watchers. Which means that if we change things inside of the array, the changes should appear on the screen automatically. And this actually includes even if you're setting up a watch yourself for a pretty deep value inside of the array. Let's go ahead and create an input element with an ngModel that is going to watch, as I remember ngModel sets up a watch, is going to watch a shopping list 2, but not just the whole thing. We just want to watch the first item in it, and we want to watch the quantity of that first item, which means that the value inside the input element is going to directly reflect the quantity value of the first item in the list. Let's save that and let's go back to the browser. And you see here, it's already appearing as 2. And the reason it's appearing as 2 is because that's the first item on the list. So if I add a 0 right here, you'll see that the list automatically updates without me doing anything else. So I could add whatever really I want in here, and the list will update with that particular number. We can also update the entire list by removing or adding items to the list. ngRepeat also watches the entire collection as a whole and will then re-render the view with the updated data. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll put an input field here and we'll say its ngModel is equal to new item name. And we'll put even a placeholder so people know what that is, item name. And we'll put another input, and this time the ngModel is going to be new item quantity, and the placeholder will say as item quantity. Okay, let's close up the sidebar so we could fit it a little bit better. And one more thing is we'll add the button to be able actually to add that new item to the list, and we'll bind an ngClick, and we'll bind it to some function called add to list. We'll put the parens at the end, and we'll say add to list as the label for the button. Now what we need to do is we need to actually go ahead and implement this add to list function. We'll copy that, we'll go to app.js, let's scroll into our controller, and we'll say $scope, add to list is a function, we don't need the name. And inside that function, we'll need to create a new item. And the new item is going to be equal to an object. As we know, that's objects now. The name of which is going to be scope.newItemName, comma, and quantity is going to be of scope.newItemQuantity. And you could see these are the values that we pulled out from the newly created ngModel, right? The ngModel that we've set up here created new item quantity and it created new item name. So we're able to now reference it right here. So once we created that new item, we need to now place it onto our array. Our array is called scope.shoppinglist2. So we'll do that, scope.shoppinglist2.push, and we'll just say new item. Okay, let's save that. Let's go back to our browser. As you can see here, we have a couple of text boxes and add to list. So let's say rich cookie, and we'll get like 500 of them. And let's get add to list. And you can see number 5 now is buy 500 of rich cookies. Now actually spelled properly too. So now that we have lots of food, let's do Coursera course, and let's order like, 3 of those. And now we have buy 3 Coursera courses, even though you don't have to buy them, they're free. And even though we've changed this whole list, we could still affect the first deep value, which is the quantity of this first item, which is milk. So we could still say 200 more and more and so on. So we could still watch that item and it will get automatically updated by the watchers that were set up by AngularJS through the ngRepeat directive. So to summarize, we learned about the ngRepeat, and ngRepeat is a directive that extends the functionality of HTML elements it's applied to. And if you think carefully about it, that's an incredible idea that you're able to take regular HTML and actually extend the way it behaves, and AngularJS achieves just that. ngRepeat behaves very similarly to for each construct in other languages. The way it works is ngRepeat is an attribute on some element, and then you specify some item, which is a variable, in some collection, and collection should be some kind of a property on usually the scope service. And each item can now be used in interpolation as an item in the collection at a particular index of iteration. Now, ngRepeat also exposes a special $index property to the body of its host tag. And what it does is that $index holds the numeric index of the current item in the loop, and you're able to then use it in your interpolation or in some calculations inside of the HTML template.